All right, Rabbi, we'll say good morning. Let's begin today's daf is Chaf Zayin. We are picking up on the last line, second to last line, of Chaf Vav Amud Beis. If you remember again, the Mishnah that we ended off yesterday's daf with yesterday was speaking about the different Lashonos for Temurah, right? And one of the Lashonos that the Mishnah said works for Temurah is the Lashon of Tachas. So the Gemara says, really is Temurah a lashon of tachas? After the Gemara brought a raya to the fact that, is tachas lashon of Temurah? So the Gemara brought a raya to the fact that tachas could also be used as a lashon of mechulelas, of deconsecration. So Abaye says, Amar Abaye mashkachas al lishna de'tfusei v'lishna da'achule. Abaye says in reality, the lashon of tachas, so the word tachas means both. Sometimes itfusei means it can be used to affect Temurah, and sometimes it could be used to affect deconsecration. So the Gemara shows, now Abaye shows where each of these lashonos come from. Lishna datfusei, on one hand, tachas can be used as a lashon of Temurah. Dichsev tap of chavzayin, vim tachta ta'amot habaheres. This is actually interesting. So this over here is by tsaras. So the pasuk says, if underneath the baheres, the lesion will remain. If you look at Rashi, Tar Rashi Chavzayin Amud Aleph, I forgot the thank the sponsors for this month's Shiur, our Talmud Torah sponsor for the month of Av, Yonah Shashi Ehrenfeld, in memory of Yonah's grandfather, Joseph Ehrenfeld, Yosef ben Shmuel Aaron. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the Neshama will have an aliyah and the family a nechama. So look at Rashi, Tar Rashi Chavzayin Amud Aleph, Vim Tachta Tamod, so Amda Bim Koma. So both say the Torah speaks out over here, if the baheres remains in place. Vahinu dumya datfuse shahekdish omid bimkoma. So both say, so over here, in this case of the baheres, so the lashon over here of sachas by the baheres, ultimately again is speaking about the idea that the baheres remains in place. So if you see that lashon of tachas means a wording of staying in place. The Gemara is understanding that to be a reference to Temurah, because what happens with Temurah? You try to exchange one animal for another, and the kedusha of the original animal remains in place on the first animal, but is also transferred to the second. So you see that tachas ultimately again is a lashon of remaining in place. Temurah da'achule. I know that tachas is also a lashon of deconsecration. D'chsiv Tachas hanachoshes avi zahav. So we'll say, so this is the pasuk in Yeshayahu, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises Klal Yisrael that instead of the copper, I will bring gold. So again, you see over here that tachas is a lashon ultimately again of exchanging one thing for the other, deconsecration. I will take away the copper and I'll give you gold instead. V'hilchach gabi kadshe mizbeach da'avdin Temurah lishna datfusehu. Therefore, Abaye now has proven that the lashon of tachas ultimately again the lashon of tachas could mean Temurah and could also mean deconsecration. So therefore, Abaye says, how do you know which definition we are employing? Like most things in life, it's all about the context. Therefore, gabi kachim is beach ta'avdin Temurah lishna datfusehu. So when dealing with kachim is when dealing with karbanos, where there is the concept ultimately of Temurah, so we assume that if the lashon of tachas is used, it is used to affect Temurah. Gabi kache be'edek habayis, the lo avdin Temurah, but I will say when it comes to kache be'edek habayis, right? Remember again, items with financial sanctity are not subject to Temurah. Therefore, lashon da'achulehu. We assume that if the word tachas is used, ultimately, again, it is a lashon of deconsecration. So we'll say, so this is shitas Abaye. The lashon of tachas might be the one lashon that could be used both to affect Temurah as well as chilul, right, as well as deconsecration. And how do you know which one is which? Everything depends ultimately again on. Everything depends on the lashon. Everything depends on the context. If you're dealing with karbanos, kachim mizbeach, tachas will mean Temurah. If you are dealing with kache be'edek habayis, tachas will mean chilul, deconsecration. Amar Rava. Rava says, well, afilu b'kache mizbeach mishkachas la lishna da'achulehu. So interesting enough, Rava says the truth is, even if you're dealing with kache mizbeach, it could be that sometimes tachas will also be a lashon of deconsecration. When? Kegon shahaya hekdish bal mum. Oh, so we'll say, so there could be a case where what? Let's say the carbon in question is a bal mum. If the carbon in question is a bal mum, then Rava suggests it could be that the lashon of tachas is what? Is one of chilul. Right? If I go ahead and I have a carbon that is now a bal mum, and I say I have another animal that is a tamim, that is a complete animal, and I say zu tachas zu, this one should come instead of that one. Rava posits that it's clear that my intention is not for Temurah. Instead, what is my intention for? For chilul, for deconsecration. And again, that would work. Why? Because the animal is a bal mum, right? By kodshei mizbeach, if the animal is a bal mum, it is subject ultimately again to chilul. Amar Rashi. Rashi says, "Afilu b'bal mum nami mishkachas la lishna dachuli mishkachas la lishna datfuse." Supposed to be very interesting. Rashi says the truth is, even with the bal mum, even if you have a carbon that is a bal mum, sometimes tachas could be a lashon ultimately again of deconsecration, and sometimes it could be a lashon of temurah. How so? Listen to this. Yodo akodesh chol havi. They will say if I say zu tachas zu, and when I say that, my hand is resting on the kodesh animal, then ultimately, again, that means I'm employing it as a lashon of deconsecration. Look at Rashi. Yadu HaKodesh is the last wide line on top. Yadu HaKodesh chol havi. Hiniach Yadu HaKodesh v'amar zu tachas zu. So again, if I place my hand on the carbonic animal, and again, remember, this is Rav Ashi talking about if the animal is a bal mum. So I placed my hand on the carbonic animal, va'amar zu tachas zu, idach duchulin vaday luchulin miskavein v'cholhu. So he changes it over here to vaday la'achule miskavein. So right, Javosai. So if I go ahead and my hand is resting on the bal mum animal, and I say zu tachas zu, then halacha l'maisa again, Rav Ashi posits that's a lashon of deconsecration. On the other hand, yado achol kodeshava. But if I rest my hand on the unconsecrated animal and I say zu tachas zu, then what? That is a lashon of temurah. Look at Rashi. Yado achol v'amar zu tachas zu atfusehu dekidesh bal mum, or the kadosh bal mum asa temurah. So we'll say Rav Ashi comes along and says, even if one of the animals is a bal mum, sometimes tachas could mean deconsecration. Sometimes tachas ultimately could mean temurah. When? If I say zu tachas zu and my hand is on the kodesh bal mum animal, that's lashon of deconsecration. But if at the end of the day I say zu tachas zu and my hand is on the chulin animal, then that is a lashon of temurah. Yado, so the Gemara says, Boy Abaye. Abaye asks the following shayla. Hayu lefan of shtei behema shal kodesh. So we'll say, so therefore again, what comes out is like this, just so you understand the progression over here. Abaye introduced the concept that tachas ultimately again is a lashon that could have two usages. Sometimes it could be a lashon of deconsecration, chilul, and sometimes it could be temurah. So Abaye said it all depends as to whether or not you're dealing with kodshei mizbeach, kodshei b'dek abayis. Comes along Rava and Rav Ashi and just point out that even when you're dealing with cases of kodshei mizbeach, sometimes tachas itself could mean a lashon of chilul, as sometimes it could mean a lashon of temurah. Good. So Abaye, hayu lefan of shtei behemos shal kodesh. Abaye says if you had standing in front of you two consecrated animals, kodesh, I will say in this context, ultimately means karbanos. Baalos mum. I will say, if you listen carefully to this case, I have two animals that were set aside for karbanos. And what happens? They now became baalos mum. Ushtei behemos shel chulin temimos. And I also have in front of me two unblemished chulin animals. Va'amar hari elu tachas elu. And I say these two should be instead of these two, should be tachas these two. So we'll say, so now what's the shayla? Mi amar latfu sevalaki. O dilma kol hecha deika hatera lo shavik inish hatera va'avedisura. So we'll say, now watch this. We've just established now that the lashon of tachas can mean both chilul, deconsecration, as well as temurah. So we'll say, so now watch this. I have two karbanos, kodshei mizbeach, both are blemished, both are balei mum. I also have two perfectly wonderful tamim chulin animals. I say zu tachas zu. These animals should be instead of these animals. What's the shaila? What am I saying? What am I saying? I'm going to say two possibilities to what I'm saying. Possibility number one is that I'm affecting Temurah. I'm affecting Temurah and I get Malkus. 2 acts of Temurah, therefore again, two sets of lashes. Or second possibility is what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm deconsecrating, which is permitted. So we'll say, so the shaila is, do we say that on one hand, tachas means Temurah, I'm affecting a Temurah? Or do we say no? When lamaisa, again, there is a permitted method of redemption of these animals. A person does not do something prohibited when they have the possibility of doing something permitted. That's the concept of lo shavik inishatera va'avid isura. A person is not going to set aside something permitted, in this case, Rabbosai, the redemption of the blemished animals, in order to do something prohibited, i.e. Temurah. So let's you want to say in this case, a person is not going to set aside something prohibited and do some. This person is not going to set aside something permitted and do something prohibited, and therefore we assume in this case tachas means redemption of the blemished animals. What about the following case? What about the following case? A person has 2 animals of Kodesh, right? And one of them is a Baal Mum, right? 2 karbanos, one is a Baal Mum. And then I have 2 chulin animals, right? And one of them is a Baal Mum and one of them is Tamim. So we'll say, watch this. So 2 karbanos, one is a Tamim, one is a Baal Mum. 2 chulin animals, one is a Baal Mum, one is a Tamim. And now watch this. Va'amar, hare elu tachas elu. I say these should be tachas these. Watch this. Mi amar temima tachas temima la'atfusei ba'alas mum tachas ba'alas mum la'achulei. Do I say that the tamim is a temurah for the tamim and the ba'alas mum is a redemption for the ba'alas mum? O dilma temima dechulin tachas ba'alas mum de kodesh. Or maybe I'll say that the tamim, right, the unblemished one of the chulin, is a deconsecration for the Baal Mum. The tamim of chulin is a deconsecration of the Baal Mum of Kodesh, and Ba'alas Mum de chulin tachas tamim de hektish, and the Baal Mum of chulin will be a temurah ultimately again for the tamim of hektish. Vitarvahu lucky. They're both saying that if you do that, you get 2 sets of malchus. Right? Remember again, if you go ahead and you assign and you say that ultimately again the tamim of chulin is tachas the ba'alas mum de hektish and the ba'alas mum de chulin is tachas the tmima de hektish, you'll get 2 sets of malchus. V'im tim tzalomar kol heicha di'ika etera lo aviri surah. Rabbi say, if you go back to our previously held principle, which is whenever there is a permitted way, or I should say, a permitted way, a kosher way to interpret one's words, that's how we go. That's how we interpret it. And therefore we assume he's coming to redeem an animal in a deconsecrated animal in a permitted way, and therefore he won't get malchus. What about the following case? Hayulafanav shalosh peimos shal kodesh va'achas me'en balas. Both say these are great cases. What happens if now I have 3 carbonic animals, right? 3 carbonos. One of them is a Baal Mum, okay? Ushlosha behemos shal chulin tamimos, and I have 3 chulin unblemished animals. And what do I say? Va'amar hari elu tachas elu, and I say these, the chulin animals, should be tachas these, the sanctified animals. So we'll say, so what are my choices over here? Mi amrinon, mi de tamimos tachas tamimos, va'atfusei, tamimos nami tachas ba'alas la'atfusei. So we'll say, so do I say that since the tamimos have the ability to be a temurah for the tamimos, that ultimately, again, that's what's happening with the Baal Mum animal as well, and therefore effectively I commit 3 acts of temurah. O dilma, hachenami, kol hecha di'ika etera lo avid isura, vahi basraisa la'chulei. Or do I say no? When it comes to the tamim karbanos, so there, the only way to understand my word of tachas is how? As an act of temurah. But in the case of the Baal Mum karban, the tachas could be understood as what? as chilul, and therefore I'll interpret this as being 2 acts of Temurah, 1 act of deconsecration, and therefore only 2 acts of prohibition. We'll say essentially what the Gemara is asking over here. You understand, all these cases are the same. Essentially what we're saying is like this: in any situation where you have a carbon that is a Baal Mum, and you use the lashon of tachas, there are 2 different ways in which you can understand the lashon of tachas by a Baal Mum carbon. What are the 2 ways? Tachas can mean Temurah, which is prohibited, or tachas can mean what? Deconsecration, chulin, making it into chulin, mean deconsecrating onto a tamel, which is permitted. So the shaila comes up about saying in these kinds of cases, where let's say again, just reviewing this last case, I have 3 karbanos, 3 carbonic animals. 2 are tamim, 1 is a Baal Mum. I have 3 chulin animals. All 3 of them are tamim. I say the 3 chulin animals should be tachas the 3 carbonic animals. For 2 out of the 3 carbonic animals, tachas means what? Temurah. Why? Because that's the only thing it can mean. Because 2 out of the 3 karbanos are unblemished. Therefore, they're not subject to any kind of redemption, not subject to any kind of chilul. Therefore, tachas must mean Temurah. What's my shaila? My shaila is, what about carbon number 3, which is the Baal Mum? Do I say carbon number 3 just follows the other 2? Just like the other 2, tachas meant Temurah, so even for the Baal Mum, tachas means Temurah. Or do I say no? In carbon number 3, where tachas what? Has the ability ultimately to mean chilul, right? Some type of deconsecration and redemption. I go with the permitted approach and not the prohibited one. It's a good shaila. Also, you understand also what's happening over here. Much more like yesodistic idea. Essentially, do we look at a person's intention based on his patterns of behavior, or do we look at each behavior kind of in its own frame? And the nafkamina is, what if you have a track record of doing bad stuff? So do I say, well, listen, I have a track record of doing bad stuff, so chances are I'm doing bad stuff now also? Or do we say, no, just because I've done bad stuff in the past might be, by the way, like 2 seconds ago, right, doesn't mean that this act has to be looked at as something bad also. We'll say that's the Gemara, that's the lashon of kol heicha hetera. Wherever there is something permitted, we assume people do the right thing. Lo avedi surah, lo shavek hetera va'avedi surah. Person's not going to set aside something permitted and do something prohibited. That's the fun. It's a fundamental shaila, really, in human behavior. That's really what's happening over here. Obviously, the Gemara says as follows: Vimtim tzalomar hachanami kivan da'akati gavra lo ischazek bisurei lo shavek hetera va'avedi surah. And even if you want to say in the case of 3 animals, that we assume that when he says tachas, by the 3rd animal, the 3rd carbon, the Baal Mum, he doesn't mean for Temurah, rather he means redemption. Why? Because he's only done 2 prohibited acts, and he doesn't have a chazaka of being an avarian, of doing things wrong. What about the following case? What about by Rav Ashi? Hayu lefan of arba behemos. Rabbi said, this is great. I have 4 animals now, right? 4 karbanos. Watch this. Va'achas mehen ba'alas mum. 3 are unblemished karbanos. 1 is a Baal Mum. Va'arba behemos shel chulin. And Rabbi said not only that, but now I have 4 unblemished chulin animals. Now watch this. Get ready. This is very exciting. Va'amar hari elu tachas elu. And I say these should be instead of these. So Rabbi says, so now let's analyze this. Va'amar hari elu tachas elu mau. What's the halacha? So we'll say, remember again, let's go through this case. 4 karbanos, 1 of them blemished. 4 chulin animals, all of them unblemished. I say zu tachazu. These 4 should be instead of these 4. So 3 out of the 4 are definitely what? Temurah, right? Because remember again, tachas must mean Temurah for the unblemished karbanos, because tachas can't mean anything else, right? So for 3 out of the 4 karbanos which are unblemished, so tachas must mean Temurah. What's the shaila? What about the 4th? Right? The 4th, does tachas mean Temurah, which is prohibited, or does tachas mean chilul, deconsecration, which will be permitted? But I will say, why is this case different than the previous case? Because here I have 4. I've now committed an act of Temurah 3 times. 3 is a chazaka. So maybe again I now have an officially halachically recognized pattern of behavior of doing the wrong thing. Once you have a halachically recognized pattern of behavior of doing the wrong thing, that's how we will judge your future behaviors as well. So the Gemara says, what's the halacha here? Mau hachavadai kevan this chazik Rabbi Yisrei bekulan lucky. So maybe it was ba'aram malkias. So do we say, listen, you have a chazaka now of doing the wrong thing 3 times. If you have a chazaka doing the wrong thing 3 times, then what? We assume the 4th time you did the wrong thing as well, and you didn't do chilul, you did temurah. O dilma af agav this chazik bi isura. Lo shavik inish hatera va'avad isura v'havi basraisa la'achule havi. Or do we say no? There's no such thing as a chazaka for being a rasha. No such thing as a chazaka for being a rasha. And therefore, even if you did the wrong thing 4 times, 4 million times, at the end of the day, you don't have a chazaka of being a rasha. And when possible to interpret your intentions and your actions in the right way, we will do so. So we'll say, so what does the Gemara answer? Teiku. Wow, what a profound teiku, right? Because it's a teiku. What is the Gemara saying? Listen, it's a fundamental shaila in human behavior. When a person has a track record of doing bad things, do we assume that ultimately, again, their past performance is a future predictor? Just like they did bad stuff in the past, chances are they're going to do bad stuff now going forward as well? Or do we say, no, past is the past? Every action is looked at on its own, and lemaisa again, if there's a possibility for a person doing the right thing, even if a person did all the wrong things in the past, we assume that they take the opportunity to do the right thing now. To which the Gemara says, Teiku. Now both say, but listen to this, the Rambam does paskin on this. The Rambam paskins, and this is quite amazing. So the Rambam says, this is Hilchos Temurah Perak Beis, Halacha Gimel. Writes the Rambam. How you the fun of Shlosh Shavemos Kachim is Beach Va'achas and Balasmum. Shahari hi omedes lepiyon v'shlosh Shavemos Tmimos Chulin. V'amehare elu tachas elu. Hari shtayim min achulin tachas shtayim atmimos. Temuras and Temurah v'lokal em shtayim. V'abehema ashlishis hi tachas Balasmum. Sheneschalal aleha ulechalala niskova and niskavin v'lo lahamir ba. Shekevan sheyesh lafan of derech iser v'temurah v'derech heter v'achilu chazoka hi she'ein adam maniach haheter v'osa iser lefikach in aloke el shalosh malchus. We'll say salach l'maisa. Now remember, the Rambam over here starts off with the case of 3 animals, right? 3 animals, all 3 karbanos, obviously 3 karbanos. 2 of them timimos, 1 of them balmum. You go ahead and now you have 3 chulin animals. All of them timimos, perfectly fine. You see, hare elu tachas elu. So the Rambam says, obviously, for 2 out of the 3, tachas must mean what? Temurah. But the Rambam paskin is that for the third, we assume that halacha l'maisa, what is he doing? Pidyon. He's redeeming it. Chilo, he's deconsecrating it. Why? Because the Rambam accepts the principle she'ein adam maniach chater va'osa ha'isr. That if there's a possible way to interpret your actions in an appropriate halachically sanctioned way, that's what we will do. Now that's fine. That's in the case of 3. Remember again, both sides, it really only got a little bit dicey for us when 4 and above. 4 and above. Watch this. Wow, the Rambam Mamish goes like from 0 to 60, in 3 seconds over here. Right? They both say, forget about 4. Rambam says 10 animals. 10 animals. And what happens? 1 of them is a balmum, 9 of them are not. Same case. I have 10 unblemished chulin animals, and I say hare elu tachas elu. So both say in 9 out of the cases, what have I done? Temurah. 9 sets of malchus. Not busy day for me. Clear my schedule, right? 9 sets of malchus. I will say the Rambam says, nevertheless, despite that, it's only 9 sets of malchus and not 10. Why? Shabehema ha'asiris lechalal aniskavein v'lo lahamir ba. I will say with animal number 10, we assume that his intention was not to do temurah, rather his intention was to deconsecrate it. Even though 9 other times I have clearly done an act of temurah, if the 10th time could be interpreted in a proper way, we do that. Why? So Rambam says explicitly, Sha'af api shohochsak zeb malkias harbe. This guy is a chazaka of mamish being he's a Russia, but at least he does not, he clearly is flagrant in violation of the halachas of Temurah, right? He doesn't hold of Temurah. He's flagrantly violating a mitzvah 9 times. Nevertheless, v'yesham derech heter, eno maniach derech heter, va'osa iser. So both say, so the Rambam paskins, and it's an incredible insight in human behavior as well. Just because I've done something wrong 9 out of 10 times does not mean that the 10th time I will do it wrong as well. The past behaviors need not be a predictor of future behaviors. And therefore says the Rambam, even again, if I've messed up 9 out of 10 times, halacha l'maisa again, if there's the possibility the 10th time for me to do it right, halacha assumes I have my act together and I'm not going to make the same mistake the 10th time. An incredible, incredible insight. That's how the Rambam paskins. And I will say again, so you understand, meaning the truth is all of life is predicated on Rambam Hilchos Temurah, Parak Beis, Halacha Gimel. Because if we didn't pass like the Rambam both said, we'd all be in very big trouble. Because Lamaisa, most of us have track records of bad decisions and life mistakes. And if those past bad decisions and mistakes were predictors of our future, might as well close up shop. But Baruch Hashem, we have the Rambam, and the Rambam says, even if 9 out of 10 times you mess up, we still assume that the 10th time you are going to get it right. Incredible. Says the Gemara. So also remember again. So here, this is going back to the Mishnah's case, and in the Mishnah's case, the Gemara said as follows: that halacha l'maisa, in a case where the consecrated animal is a balmum, and you say tachas, this is what we just saw before, and you say tachas, then we assume, or you redeem it, so to speak, that ultimately, again, the balmum carbon could be deconsecrated on a chulin animal. Now, the novelty of the Mishnah was, even if the chulin animal is worth less than the kodesh animal, deconsecration works, but what? You have to give the difference in value to the Beis HaMikdash. So if I have a carbon that is worth $200 and I deconsecrate it because it has a mum onto a chulin animal that is worth $100, the deconsecration works. The sanctity passes from the balmum carbon to the chulin carbon, but I now owe $100 to the Beis HaMikdash. Says the Gemara, Am Rabbi Yochanan yatsa l'chulin divar Torah, v'tzarech la'asos damim midivreim. Rabbi Yochanan says, mid'oraisa, the deconsecration works, and the chulin animal now becomes the carbon, but mid'oraisa, and it's only d'Rabbanan that I have to pay the difference in value to the Beis HaMikdash. So I'll say, Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion that really mid'oraisa, once the animal is deconsecrated, even if the new carbon is has less value than the original carbon, mid'oraisa I don't have to make up the value. Halacha l'maisa, however, again, but midrabanan, I do have to go ahead and make up the value. Reish Lakish says, Af tzarech la'asos damim divar Torah. Reish Lakish says that halacha l'maisa, I have to go ahead and make up the money midaraisa. So my askina. So we'll say, so what are we talking about? When we say what are we talking about, the Gemara is really asking over here, how much of a difference in value are we talking about between the original carbon and the what's the right word? And the substitute. I don't want to use this substitute because substitute is Temurah. Replacement carbon, thank you. Says the Gemara. So the Gemara says, if you want to say it's a difference in the value of a sixth, like which is the share of ona of overcharging, so the Gemara says, is that true that Reish Lakish would say that halacha l'maisa you have to pay that back to the Beis HaMikdash? So the Gemara says, we learned, elu dvarim she'ein lahem ona. These are the things, to which the laws of overcharging or undercharging, for that matter, do not apply. What things? Ha'avadim, ha'ashtaros, va'karkos, va'akdeshos. So you have an exclusive Mishnah that says that the laws of Ona do not apply to Hekdish. So if you want to say it's a sixth, right, that there's a difference of a sixth in value, then halacha l'maisa, why would Reish Lakish say that midrash you have to pay that back to the Beis HaMikdash? Ella abitul mekach. Rather, it must be Rabosai that it's actually more than a sixth. So, for example, in financial transactions, if you overcharge or undercharge by more than a sixth, that is grounds to go ahead and void the transaction. So that's what we're talking about, where the replacement carbon is more than a sixth, has more than a 1/6 value differential with the original carbon. So the Gemara says, "B'haneim Rabbi Yochanan tzarich lasos tam midivrehem." Would Rabbi Yochanan say that there's only an obligation midirabanan to go ahead and pay back that difference? V'hamar Rabbi Yirmiyah said, "Akarkos dechulin." The Gemara says, "I'm sorry." V'hamar Rabbi Yirmiyah says, "Akarkos dechulin." Rabbi Yonah Amar ahakdeshos tavrayu mished Rabbi Yochanan Amri ona. Ein lahen bittul mekach. Ona ein lahen bittul mekach yesh lahen. I will say that ultimately again Rabbi Yirmiyah said by karkos of chulin, and Rabbi Yonah says by hekdeshos. Everyone agrees that what? That although the laws of ona do not apply, the laws of bittul mekach do apply. Which will says a way of saying like this: if the difference in value is a sixth, that's what we call ona. Those halachos don't apply. If the difference in value is more than a sixth, then ultimately, again, there's what's called bittul mekach. In other words, I will say there's an obligation ultimately, or there is the possibility to void the transaction, which means that differences of in value of more than 1/6 are halachically recognized. Therefore, we'll say using that logic, if we're talking about where the replacement animal has more than a 1/6 value differential with the original animal, then why would Rabbi Yochanan ultimately say that halacha l'maisa you're only chayiv midrabanan? You should be chayiv ultimately to do what? To go ahead and give it back even midaoraisa. So what's the case? We're trying to figure out. So here's what we know. The Mishnah told me that if I go ahead and I redeem a carbonic animal with a chulin animal, but the chulin animal is worth less than the original carbon, the deconsecration works, but I have to pay the difference in value to the Beis HaMikdash. Fine. What difference? What are we talking about here? So we also have a machlokes, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan says that halacha l'maisa, the redemption works midaraisa. I have to pay the difference in value midirabanan. And Reish Lakish says I have to go ahead and pay the difference in value midaraisa. To which the Gemara says, what is the difference in value that we're talking about over here? If it's a sixth, it would appear that the laws of Onal do not apply to Kodesh. If it's more than a sixth, it would appear that the laws do apply. So if it's less than a sixth, why would Reish Lakish say that it's a Chiyav Midaraisa? If it's more than a sixth, why would Rabbi Yochanan say that it's only a Chiyav Midirabanan? So what's going on over here? Li'olam abitul mekach. So it says the Gemara, in reality, we're talking about where the difference in value was more than a sixth. The Eifoch and Abosai, you should really switch around the shitos to say that Rabbi Yochanan holds that midaraisa you have to pay the money, and Reish Lakish holds that only midrabanan you have to pay the money. So the Gemara says, really, umi matzis amrit epoch, are you really going to switch around the shitos? Hanich lemad damar akdeshos the kol shekin akarkos. That makes sense according to the opinion who says that bittul mekach, more than a sixth, applies to hekdish and certainly to karka. El lemad damar akarkos avalek deshos inlam bittul mekach. But according to the opinion who holds that the sixth or the more than a sixth applies to karka, but doesn't necessarily apply to hekdish, so heichi epoch law. How would you go ahead and switch around the shitos? To which the Gemara says, you're right. Rabbi Yirmiyah lo seifuch. Do not switch the shitos of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Rather, what's happening over here? Lema b'dishmuel kamiflagi. I will say rather instead say that in fact Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish are arguing on the shita of Shmuel. What did Shmuel say? The Amar Shmuel, Hekdish Shave Mana, Shechilalu al Shave Pruta, Michulal. So listen to this. So Shmuel says, if you have Hekdish that is worth a mana, and you redeemed it on something only worth a Pruta, Shmuel paskins that the redemption works. So this is actually a very dramatic idea. I have Hekdish worth $1,000, and I redeem it on something that is worth $10. Shmuel says the redemption works. The Rabbi Yonah, so the Gemara over here, right. So the Gemara, Rabbi Yonah less like the Shmuel. For Rabbi Yirmiyah is like the Shmuel. Rabbi Yonah doesn't hold the Shmuel, and Rabbi Yirmiyah does hold the Shmuel. To which the Gemara says, "Lo, bein demar is like the Shmuel." No, everyone agrees with Shmuel. The Rabbi Yonah savar ki amar Shmuel the Eved aval lechatchila lo. So we'll say, so everyone agrees with Shmuel that halacha l'maisa, if you go ahead and you deconsecrate something that is worth $1,000 on something that is worth $100, the deconsecration works. It works. We'll say, rather, what's the shaila? The shaila is in the nature of Shmuel's statement. Rabbi Yonah holds, ki amar Shmuel di'eved, aval lechatchila lo. So we'll say, Rabbi Yonah holds that when does Shmuel say that the deconsecration works? Ex post facto. If you did it already, right? B'di'eved, if you did it, ultimately, again, it works. However, lechatchila, you are not permitted to go ahead and do it. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yirmiyah holds, so Rabbi Yirmiyah savra afil lechatchila. Rabbi Yirmiyah holds that halacha l'maisa, even lechatchila, one would be permitted to go ahead and do it. The other possibility is li'olam lo seifoch. Don't change the shitos of Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. V'dikakashi l'chamas nisin elu dvarim hekdeshos. And that's what you had the kasha that you espoused before from the Mishnah. Kid Rav Chisda, Dam Rav Chisda, ein lahen ona. What does it mean when we say hekdeshos are not subject to the laws of ona? What does that mean? Einon b'toras ona. It will say it means that they are not subject to the halachos of ona. Meaning what? Da'afilu pachos mikidei ona choser. See, I will say in the laws of ona, which are very important halachos in terms of business. So we'll say generally we say overcharging or undercharging of a sixth is negligible and is not collectible, right? We'll say if we engage in a business transaction and it turns out that I overcharged you by less than a sixth, you have no halachic recourse for that, because there's an assumption in the world of business there's always some fluctuation or discrepancy or just kind of range, right? So we'll say, so halacha l'maisa, the Gemara suggests over here, that is different by hekdeshos. By hekdeshos, we'll say, if it turns out that the value of the item that is going to serve as the vehicle for redemption, let's say we'll say in this case of a Baal Mum, my carbon is a Baal Mum, I'm going to deconsecrate it onto another animal which is a Tamim, and that animal is less than a 6, has less than a 1/6 value differential from the original animal, I still have to pay that back to the Beis HaMikdash. Tafilu pachos michdei ona choser. Amra Ula said, Lo amru ella b'shamui, betray. We'll say, when do we say that halacha l'maisa? When look at Rashi. Lo amru dimashalim lo hedyot lahekdish kol ha'ona ella d'shamua betray bereisha v'tov v'suhadri tlasa v'shaimu lahekdish te. So let's listen to this. When do we say that halacha l'maisa, if your animal, right? So again, we'll say we're dealing with the one simple case. I have a carbon that is a Baal Mum. I now have to deconsecrate it onto a chulin animal, and I do the deconsecration. It turns out that what? The chulin animal is worth less than the original carbonic animal. What does the Mishnah teach me? Halacha, I have to pay back the difference to the Beis HaMikdash. And now, interesting enough, what the Gemara seems to be teaching me is what I will say. Even if that difference of value is what? Less than a 1/6, which in normal business transactions is considered to be a negligible amount, which does not have to be repaid. When it comes to the Beis HaMikdash, I still have to repay that amount as well. So lo amru, that's only true b'shamoi betray. But I'll say that's only true if originally 2 people assessed the value of the animal, and then afterwards 3 came along and assessed it and said that the 2 were wrong about their assessment, and in fact the animal is worth X. Then I have to pay that difference to the Beis HaMikdash. Aval shamua betlasa. But I will say, if my animal was, if the chulin animal, which is going to be the redemption animal, was appraised by 3, the afagav da'asi b'meya, even if 100 people later on and said, no, the deconsecration animal is actually worth less than you originally saying, you owe money to the Beis HaMikdash. Nevertheless, lo hadar. Ultimately, again, I will say, what's the halacha? The halacha is that once the animal is valuated, once it's appraised, and once it's appraised by 3, right, then the value is locked in. Even if 100 came around afterwards, it doesn't matter. Ini, is that so? V'amar Rav Safra hecha amar meya kitrei utrei kemeya. We'll say, when do we say that 2 is like 100 and 100 is like 2? Le'inyan edus. We'll say that's true by testimony. Aval le'inyan umdina basar deos hazinan. We'll say when it comes to appraisals, right? We assume the more the merrier, right? In halacha l'maaseh, if you had an appraisal done by 3 and then an appraisal done by 100, we give greater credence to the appraisal done by 100 because we assume there's more collective wisdom there. To which the Gemara says, "This basar deus azlinon." Sorry, avalayin umduna basar deus azlinon. Visu tlasa lo azlinon basar basra. Diyat hektish al ha'alyona. I will say furthermore, even if you had 2 groups of 3, let's say again the group of 3 gave a higher valuation, which is good obviously for me, and the second group of 3 gave a lower valuation, which of course I will say is better for the Beis HaMikdash. Ultimately again we go after the second group. Kasavar ula sarech lasos damim midivrayim v'chol d'Rabbanan akila b'Rabbanan. So as I say, ultimately again, Ula's of the opinion that what? We'll say Ula's of the opinion that halacha l'maisa, the obligation to pay the difference is only midrabanan, and since it's midrabanan, ultimately again will be mekel. So we'll say, so fundamental machlokes in general about. See, here's what we know. What we know is that halacha l'maisa, if you redeem your Baal Mum karban, right, and the redemption animal is worth less than the original carbonic animal, everyone is going to agree that what? That halacha l'maisa you have to pay the difference. The machlokes is what? The machlokes is, do you have to pay the difference mid'araisa or midrabanan? That seems to be the fundamental machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. And I will say, because of that, the nafkamina for that, I will say, will be in this last case over here. In this last case, where essentially you get competing valuations. Do we go on the valuation that's ultimately in the best interest of the Beis HaMikdash? Or do you go with the valuation that is in the best interest, ultimately, again, of who? Of the individual? Well, that depends. If the obligation to pay the difference is midaraisa, then we will go with the valuation that is in the best interest of the Beis HaMikdash. If, on the other hand, the obligation to pay the valuation is only midirabanan, then what? If it's a rabbinic obligation, we'll be mekel over here, and we'll go with the valuation that best suits me. That's the fundamental machlokes. So we'll say, we'll just finish up. Harezu Mishnah. Harezu tachas ola, tachas chatas lo amar klum. We'll at least begin it. So we'll say, if a person says, right, harezu. Now we'll say in this case over here, I'm giving a little bit of an ambiguous lashon. And I say, this animal, right, this is the Temurah case. Harezu tachas, ola tachas chatos. This animal, chulin animal, should be instead of a chatas, should be instead of an ola. Lo amar klum. I have not said anything. Now I will say, why have I not said anything? I haven't identified a particular chatas or particular ola. On the flip side, tachas chatas zu, v'tachas ola zu, tachas chatas v'tachas ola sheishli babayis, hayulo, dvarav kayamin. Abu Saif, on the other hand, I said what? Tachas chatas zu. I identified a chatas. I identified an ola. Or I said, the chatas in the house, the ola in the house, then what? Dvarav kayamin. So I'll say, what the Mishnah is now teaching me is, the lashonos of Temurah must be targeted lashonos, cannot be open-ended lashonos. Amr al behemat meya va'al balas mum hare elu ola lo amr klum. So we'll say ultimately again similarly, if this is now not a Temurah case, a general carbon case. If I have a non-kosher animal or a ba'alas mum, and I say about those animals, these animals, this should be an ola, that statement is meaningless. Why is it saying meaningless, Rabbi say? Because a non-kosher animal can't become an ola, and a ba'al mum can't become an ola. Hare elu li ola. But if I say that lamaisa again, what? These animals should be li ola. Then what, Rabbi say? Yimachru. You sell them. V'yavi b'dmeim ola. Then we'll say in that case, sell off the animals and utilize their funds to go out and purchase an ola. Amrav Yehuda Amarav. Masnis and Rabbi Meir. But say ultimately, our Mishnah does not reflect the view of Rabbi Meir. Why not? The Amar Ikar Meir Amar Ha'in Adam Motzi Dvar Levatala. Rabbi Meir is of the opinion that halacha l'maisa, we always assume that a person does not say nonsensical things. Rabbi Meir must have lived in a dramatically different time, right? So we'll say, so again, Rabbi Meir says people never say empty words, right? And therefore, Meir says that even in a case where a person says harezu tachas ola or harez, right, or right harezu tachas chatas, even if I didn't say ola zu chatas zu or chatas zu babais ola zu babais, Rabbi Meir says if you have a chatas or if you have an ola, ultimately, again, that statement is an effective state of Temurah. So the Rabbi Yehuda is just saying clearly the Mishnah does not subscribe to the view of Rabbi Meir. So also remember again, if I have an animal that is a non-kosher animal, or I have an animal that is a Baal Mum, and I say this animal is an Ola, that statement is meaningless, because a non-kosher animal can't become an Ola, a Baal Mum can't become an Ola. But if I say my non-kosher animal or my Baal Mum should be Li'ola, that statement works. Why? Because we look at that as monetary sanctity. Sell off the animal and utilize the funds to purchase an Ola. It says the Gemara, Taima de behemoth tmei balas mum de lo chazyon lo bayan muma. So I'll say ultimately again, and I could sell off the non-kosher animal and the Baal Mum immediately. Why? Because ultimately, again, since they are not fit for sacrificial purposes, I don't have to set them out to graze first. But I will say, for example, if I were to designate a female animal for an asham, for an ola. Now also remember again, you can't offer up a female animal for an asham or for an ola, but lamaisa what? A female animal is still in the parsha of karbanos. So for that type of animal, what? Bayon muma. You'd have to set it out to a female, you have to set it out to graze, allow her to develop a mum, and only then sell her off and use the proceeds to purchase an ola. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Rav, Masnisin delok Reb Shimon. Our Mishnah does not reflect the view of Reb Shimon. Why? Reb Shimon Omer Timacha Shelo B'mum. Because ultimately, again, Reb Shimon would be of the opinion that even ultimately, again, within a keva, you could sell it off even without a mum. The Mishnah specifically allows for the case of a behemoth tmeah or for a balas mum to be sold off immediately, but the Mishnah holds that by an keva, you would have to set her out to graze, allow her to develop a mum, and only then go ahead and sell. Not like the position of Reb Shimon who says by an keva, you could sell her off immediately even without a mum. Hadron Allah, Kate said Marian. We'll say Mazel Tov, Shkoyach. We'll begin the new parak tomorrow.